Welcome to Discovering. Tonight we're trolling for Brookies by Kayak.
Part of the appeal of this kind of fishing is obviously being in a setting like this, right?
Plus the story I was hoping to get to you last week, strawberries in the copper country. So sit back and relax. It's Monday night and it's time for Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.
The secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone. Forest thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak. Surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields. Call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill. The eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
Remember Steve Hooper from last December when we ice fished some stocked trout lakes? We've teamed up again to fish another Backwoods brook trout lake, this time on Kayak.
So this one that I am running the gulp leech with, I'm not exactly sure, but I think that'll go down to about maybe 6 or 7 feet. And then the other one, these don't go very deep at all, maybe 3 to 5 feet. But they work really well even through most of the summer. You know, you can be trolling through pretty deep water and still get fish that'll come up from underneath. They're made up in Canada, and I guess they're really popular like in the Adirondacks in a lot of the brook trout ponds that upstate New York has. I started using them a couple of years ago and I find they work pretty darn good. This one, this wobbler here, this Lake Clear wobbler, this one is orange and the other half glows, which I don't know, maybe on an overcast day like today, that's a good thing. Yeah, so the setup is just your regular, you know, I have like 6-pound test line on here and then a snap swivel, just because otherwise these get twisted up. And then another snap swivel and then a few feet of leader, usually like a 4-pound test. You know, fluorocarbon's nice, especially on lakes that are really clear. Just a piece of worm, you don't even need a whole one. Seems like with live bait, you'll catch more fish, and with artificial bait, you'll catch bigger fish with the brook trout. I don't know. At least that's been my experience. I really like these lures too, these attractors, these Lake Clear wobblers, because you can really feel like if it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. They just kind of, they don't spin like like some types of lures would. They kind of just go back and forth through the water like this. The fish are usually pretty darn aggressive when they hit it, so you usually can tell if you have a fish on pretty easily. Man, do I love these guys. They put up such a fight. Especially on really light tackle like this. Makes another dive here. Whoop. Try not to rush them. It's a good one. There we go. So one thing I love about these lakes too is you can get into some nice size fish. And this one's probably between 13 and 14 inches. Kind of put it through their jaw like that and then get them on. All right, there he is. Nice healthy brook trout. Oh no, it's just a smaller one. Try to release him right away. Oh, it's a really small one. Yeah, just a little guy. Oh, good, the hook popped out. I'll just keep them in the net and get them out of here. Rod holders, $6 at Walmart. They're actually meant to install the other way, like, so this part's the top and this goes down into the boat, but we made it work. Sometimes it pays, instead of doing a whole lap around the lake like I did, it pays to turn around and go back over the same spot again. We'll bring them on this side. Hopefully not get wound up in my other line there. Gotta be good at multitasking. Oh, there we go. I'll release him quick. In the interest of trying different things, I might try a minnow. Not a real minnow. Live minnows are not allowed, but a gulp minnow. These are 1 inch, so these are really tiny, but really, really nice for brook trout. I'm sure they'd work well for perch and bluegill and crappie and whatever. Trolling like this, if you're not catching fish, can get a little boring, but when you have foxes and beavers and loons and frogs and all kinds of other critters, makes it a little more fun. Might be a better one, I don't know yet. I don't know what it did, but the hook is in its mouth and the bait is up the line there. It is hooked in the mouth though. Oh, come on. Another good one. Probably about the same size as that first, probably about 1 foot long. They're definitely better, these lakes are definitely better fished in the spring and the early part of the summer. Pretty much through the month of July, especially like this year we had a pretty cold spring and kind of a cold start to summer too, or to the month of June at least, so I'm guessing these will keep fishing pretty well up through July. Ooh, this one's got some weight to it. I'm excited. This one's putting up a good fight. It's shaking its head and staying down. Got him. Oh, here's that third one. Some people cook these whole or just kind of make a cut down the belly and sort of open them up, butterfly them. I like to just get the fillets, especially with these little bit bigger ones. Just easier to make sure you're not getting bones in your fillet. Brook trout too, I just cook them with the skin on, especially if I'm going to batter them and fry them. The skin just crisps up really nicely and bigger one. I like a light coating of crunch with the flour. It's like a Cajun seasoning, Tony Chicheres. Sometimes I do like Laurie's seasoned salt. That's a good one. Gordon Ramsay says to lay away, so there we go, fish drop. Kind of curl up like that, but that's okay. Separate. Fish and house chips. Fries are $2 extra. A little lemon on there. All right, catch and cook. That's great.
Thanks, Steve, for a successful catch and cook day. The Brookies were delicious. The 75th annual Copper Country Strawberry Festival was held in Chassell on July 7th and 8th. That's right, this small community has been celebrating strawberries for 75 years now.
Story goes, the berry farmers of Chassell had these beautiful strawberries, and they said, we really need to showcase this. So even though they were trucking them out of area, they said, let's celebrate it in our community.
Strawberries usually ripen the first or second week of July, hence the midsummer timing of the festival.
Supposedly, this is the best ground to grow strawberries here in Chassell. I don't know if it's the sandy soil, I don't know if it's the climate. I'm not a berry farmer myself.
And since year one, it has been put on by the Chassell Lions Club.
So the Lions Club putting on the Strawberry Fest, but you know, in a usual small community, it's a bunch of different groups. It's a great event, both with the Queen pageant on Friday night, the parade that we just got done with, the fish boil, the kids parade on Friday night. It's just great events, both Friday and Saturday.
Thousands of people lined the main street for the parade, and thousands waited in line for shortcake.
You know, we anticipate to sell 5,000 shortcakes. To put that in perspective, on Thursday we had volunteers clean 185 flats or 1,480 quarts.
The cake recipe is top secret, so this is the only place you'll eat a strawberry shortcake this good.
How's the shortcake?
Good. There is a recipe. They don't allow the president to know the recipe because he knows that secret will get out.
It's the Chassell berries. That's the secret recipe. Grown with love.
So I think we have 9 local berry farms providing the berries. And the amazing part is they're still picking today. I know they brought 16 flats in, and those sold within 30 minutes.
To learn more about the history of strawberries in the Copper Country, I visited the Chassell Heritage Center and the 101-year-old Henry Oatinen Farm. Strawberry farming began in the early 1900s in the Copper Country. Small growers offered self-picking to locals and sold excess to area stores.
Because all the old people, they used to supplement their income with strawberries. If they had dairy or whatever they worked out. My grandfather bought this in 1922, and 2022 it was in the family for 100 years. And we're still farming. Well, my grandfather had a milk house. And he sipped some of his strawberries to association in Chassell.
Commercial shipping of strawberries to outside markets began in 1936 when the Copper Country Strawberry Growers Association formed. Because they are highly perishable, strawberries had to be shipped the same day as harvest.
The Strawberry Growers Association, they had a depot in Chassell right where the pavilion is. We would bring the berries there, and they would ship them to Chicago on a train first and semis later.
And by 4 p.m., the strawberries were loaded and left Chassell to markets in Chicago, Milwaukee, and Minneapolis. Strawberry market sales from 1936 to 1979 estimated $2.7 million. After the first Strawberry Festival in 1949, the 1950s saw an increased interest in strawberry farming and a boom happened. At its peak, there were approximately 450 strawberry farms with over 600 acres of strawberries in the Copper Country.
Well, there was growers in Jacobsville and all over. You know, guys planted 5 or 10,000 plants and supplement their income.
But these strawberry fields weren't forever. Only 50 farms were still in operation in 1970 when Henry Oatinen started growing strawberries.
When I worked for the co-op, well, the summers were quiet, so I could never fuel or gas in the morning or afternoon. So then I started with strawberries on that farm here. I've worked on a farm all the way in my life, you know. Use the land. I have all the equipment, so I had something to do in the summertime.
Today, there are only about a half dozen strawberry farms left, totaling about 20 acres.
On the Klingville Road, I think it was 15 strawberry farms when I was started. And now we're the last of Mohegans right now.
800 quarts of these juicy red berries for Strawberry Fest came from the Henry Oatinen farm. Devouring this shortcake I had no idea the work that goes into growing them.
Get the fields prepped in the spring. You got to plant, then you got to snip blossoms, then you got to, fertilize, you got to mulch, you got to cultivate. There's a lot of work involved. And of course, the 3 weeks in July when they're producing is the busiest time of the year.
We plant 20,000 plants a year.
Strawberry planting machinery hasn't changed much in 100 years. Henry's grandfather planted by hand.
Make a hole, see. It leaves a hole and you put the plant in there.
So the plants, somebody else grows those, and then we get them as small plants, and then we put them in the ground with our planter that you sit on now. People sit on there and it's drawn by the tractor, and these fingers go around. You put the plant in there. As they go down, the fingers close. The furrow makes a place to plant it, and it puts it in, and it buries it back up.
That's what you're using nowadays.
That's what we're using now.
You said it was tobacco first?
It was a tobacco planter.
Do you have to plant them every year?
Yes.
You do.
I have 9 fields that I rotated amongst.
Your first year field is the best, and that's what this one is. The first year it produces. So you're looking at the first year field right here, and there's not quite as many weeds in it. And then if you look here, this is the second year field. Then you'll see the strawberries in here are a little smaller than, of course, these ones in the new field. They do get smaller every year. The second year puts a lot of berries. I mean, there's a lot of green berries in here, but we'll have a third year field. This will be a third year field next year. And a couple years, we've had fourth year fields where the plants didn't get overgrown by weeds, and we produced berries off them for 4 years, but it's rare to get 4 out of them. At the end of that fourth season, or even at the end of the third season, this will get plowed under.
Okay.
And then my dad will rotate other crops on top for 3 or 4 years before it would go back to strawberries again.
You have to rotate your crops. If you keep planting berries year after year, what happens is nematodes come and they go into the plant roots and they stop the plant from taking nutrients out of the soil, and the plant dies.
The 20,000 new plants then go in the rotated field. These new plants need a lot of TLC, from hoeing to blossom removal, to encourage runner growth.
The year we plant them, we have to snip the blossoms so the mother plant can send out runners. So every mother plant has either 3 or 4 or 5 other plants hooked to it. So if you had 20,000 plants and each plant has 4 or 5 more runners, well, you times that by 20,000 and you have 100,000 plants.
And you see those plants are about that far apart, and then when these runners, they'll go either direction, and they'll plant 2 more new plants right there, and they'll push more runners off. So eventually you'll have a solid row of plants if they all grow right. But this is where you got to come in and hoe these things too to get all these weeds out of here, and that's what one of our guys does.
I fertilized this once already, and we'll do it again in September. Fertilize this twice.
Next season, this will be the first year field, looking very much like this one.
Tame the runners into the row so you have an aisle to walk, and you want those runners to run so that you can get all those more berry plants to get more berries off of them. Because each plant produces, this one right here, there's a stalk of berries right there, probably 10 berries on it. This one's probably got 5 to 10 berries, so this plant's going to produce probably 30 strawberries throughout the course of the season. Let's see if I can find some nice big ones. We just picked this today, so it's going to be difficult to find. The ones we took out of today were this big. They were huge. That's about an average size. The kind of berry we get that are odd shaped, but they get really big. This is a pretty good size one, but we get them a lot bigger than that too.
The pickers of this farm are Tom and his wife and local kids they hire.
I've been doing this, since my dad started doing it in 1970. When you're picking strawberries, you've just got it's a back-breaking job. Bend over, dig through the plants, look for the right berries. When you look here, there's a nice one sitting right there. There's a little bit of orange right now, but in a couple days they'll get bigger, they'll get redder. We've been averaging probably 24 to 32 quarts off of a double row after they've ripened up. Standard size quart of berries with a decent size heap on it.
Their farm is open for self-picking.
Self-picking trade has actually dropped off over the years. So that's my commercial picking has actually gone gangbusters because people don't want to work picking them. So we sell as many berries as I can pick. Every berry we have picked at the field is sold before I leave the field. The demand is great, supply is limited.
And we supply econo foods in home, and the fruit stand in Lawrence and Ishbury. But I'm getting ready to retire pretty soon, so.
And back to the festival, they sold out of 5,000 shortcakes by 2 p.m. on Saturday. That's all for tonight, and I hope to see you right back here next week for Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.
Forgot I was wearing my net. Just to taste it. Nope.